I am very excited for today's guest. Her name is Leah Mazur. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name properly. And she's a divorce coach who works with women. And we are going to be talking about how to combat negative self-talk, especially when you get up. Let me see if I could get her on here properly. Anyway, so that was
Hello, hello.
hi.
How are
Good
you?
to see you.
I'll just
Yeah.
make this a little better here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about this today. I feel like this is something that really a lot of people struggle with, even if you're not going through a high conflict situation. I think this comes up for everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say before we even get into it, some people might not know what self-talk is. What is self-talk?
It's that voice in your head. It's the conversations that you're having with yourself about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking it's not just your voice, it's your ex's voice squatting between your ears, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they've kind of taken control, and we know that emotional abuse is often worse than physical abuse because physical you can get away, emotional it just stays in your head.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard to kind of undo that sometimes, but it's possible. It just takes, consistency and self-compassion and patience, and you can absolutely change all of those conversations and kind of rewire the programming.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so before we even get into it, Leah, why don't you formally introduce yourself and say what you do?
Hello. So, Leah Mazur, I'm a certified divorce recovery coach for women. So, a lot of our resources and support are designed for moms who are in those early stages of divorce and also in that co parenting journey. Because once the ink is dry on the paperwork, it doesn't mean you're done, right? If you're co-parenting with someone, that could be a really, really long game to play. And if it's somebody who doesn't really want to be on the same page and cooperate and do what's best for the kids and listen to your opinions and like all of that stuff, it can be really stressful and really hard. And so we've got a lot of tools and support and resources for moms that are dealing with that.
Yes, and I love meeting other divorce coaches who do things that are different from us. So you do the recovery and you do the co-parent. We kind of do the muck in the middle, like slogging through the family court part of it, all the little litigation and mediation, negotiation, all that. We do co-parenting too, but mostly like the big messiness stuff.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's why really we created what we did is because there weren't a lot of resources for people, on like later in that journey. And it's such a difficult chapter of your life, and you need as much guidance and support and clarity and confidence and tools that you can get so that you don't lose your mind, and you can still empower your kids while empowering yourself in the process.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to recognize that it's very different when you're dealing with a high conflict ex versus normal divorce. And we only deal with the 10% of the craziest, most extreme cases. And so it's really hard and isolating for people who do have a high conflict ex because other people, the anger subsides and they settle
Yeah.
down, and sometimes they're even friendly. That never happens with our clients.
Yes.
What about yours?
100%. Yeah. And that really is a struggle in and of itself, is that there's a lot of people who just don't understand.
Right.
You may have friends and family talking to you with the best intentions, saying, just give him what he wants, just agree, just do what's best for the kids, put the kids first. And you know what? In an amicable co-parenting dynamic, that probably would work. But when you're dealing with somebody who's just completely unreasonable and unrational all the time, that is not going to help anybody. I mean, you've really got to be strict in your boundaries and in how much engagement you're even participating in, and really just focus on your house, because you're not going to be able to control the chaos happening at the other one.
Right. And I think that someone like that too, reasonable doesn't even enter the conversation because they want to punish you.
Yes.
They don't want, it's not like there's anything you can do that's going to make things settle with them. They're going to keep finding new ways to still terrorize you. So it is
Yes.
really, really different. And people
Yes.
do not get it because we live in a rational world. And even lawyers talk about how, like, I can't, we always say our clients belong to my lawyer says this is the craziest case they've ever had club, because they're not coming in with the priorities of let's do what's best for the kids and let's do what's fair. One person is. but
Right.
the other one doesn't care about that. They care about themselves.
That's right. And so that's really complex, and there's a lot to kind of unpack there. But honestly, if for those of you listening or watching, if you're finding yourself in that situation, the best thing you can do is really find that radical acceptance of who it is you're really dealing with, because you can spend years trying to do what you think they want you to do, and bend over backwards and, do all the things. But in truth, if this really is a high conflict person, a lot of these people are narcissists, they're never going to change. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But as soon as you can really accept that and let go of the hope that maybe one day they're going to be nicer to you or want to cooperate or show up differently for the kids or any of that, it puts you back in the driver's seat, and you can be more in control of your own peace and how you protect it and how you manage your house, and just kind of let go of a lot of the other chaos that will ensue.
Yeah, we just got off with someone who was saying, I just wish he would show some compassion. And we're like, it's never going to happen.
It
It's
just
not,
doesn't.
you're not dealing with that kind of person.
That's right. They really just don't have the capacity for that. They're just not wired that way. I tell my clients to kind of picture their exes as aliens from another planet. Like, if you have to change their contact info in your phone, like put a picture of an alien, or like, because they really do, they sometimes create their own reality. Like, it makes you feel crazy, but this is who you're dealing with. And again, it's like, if you can remember that, it helps you lower your expectations, because a lot of that frustration and anger and resentment that we have for other co-parent, if they're high conflict, is because we keep expecting them to do the right thing, say the right thing, agree with us, understand what we're saying. And like, it's just not going to work out that way. And so if we can kind of lower those expectations and stop projecting that onto someone who just,
All the
they
way
just
down.
don't have the capacity to be like that, it will help you alleviate a lot of that stress and frustration.
Right, it really will. So, so how do we deal with negative self-talk? I
Yeah.
mean, think about all that time that we spent in those relationships and that person's voice in our head and the coercive control and the balance of power. And now you're out and you still have it.
You're
What do we
stuck
do?
right now.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, you've got to create awareness, because if you don't even realize that that's going on, then you're not really in a position to be able to make any changes. So one of the things that I really love that so many people underestimate is just journaling. Like, just get it out. Like, talk about your thoughts and your feelings and what you're struggling with. And I know a lot of people have come to me and they're like, I sit down and I just don't even know what to write. Like, I don't even know what to say or start with. And so, if that's you, I would highly recommend just prompts. There's sentence stems that just kind of get the wheels turning and kind of draw out some of that stuff that will help you move through what you're feeling. There's thousands of them on the internet. You can use ChatGPT. I mean, I've got some free guides, that you can grab that will help you. But journaling will help at least cultivate that awareness so that you can see more clearly like what your thoughts really are, right? That's just one exercise. I mean, there's a lot of it. Therapy is also great. There's a lot of things you can do. And then once you kind of have an understanding of, oh yeah, like I'm catching myself kind of like putting myself down or questioning myself, or you're thinking maybe I am a bad mom and maybe the things that they said are true. That's when you really have to kind of name that voice, because just because thoughts are coming up in your head, it doesn't make them true, and it doesn't mean that that's you. And so it's, if you can just give it a name, and it can be anything. It could be like the girl's name. Like years ago I named mine Maxine. She's real spicy. Like, she's not a nice friend, but she lives in my head rent free. And so sometimes when those thoughts come up where I'm maybe questioning myself, and I kind of had, okay, like, thank you, Maxine. Like, I know that you're just trying to keep me safe. Really, that's what it is your brain just trying to keep you, safe and in a predictable circumstance. But you know what? I don't have to buy into what you're saying. I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to trust it. I could just hear you and then kind of move on. So that is a really great way to at least start separating that inner voice from you. And then the next step would really be to kind of create and find mantras and affirmations that reaffirm the opposite. So like, if you're finding yourself saying, oh, am I a terrible mom? Like, am I selfish, or whatever my ex is saying, or whatever he's told me for 15 years before we got divorced. Really ask yourself, is this 100% true? Like, do I have proof to support that this is a fact? Would I say this to a close friend of mine if she were in the same circumstance? And what is something else I can affirm? Like, I love my kids. I'm doing the best that I can with what I know. I am trying every day. I'm getting better every day. Anything that helps reaffirm your confidence. And so it's almost has to become a new habit for you, is every time you catch yourself kind of saying something not really compassionate or supportive to yourself and about yourself, you kind of just acknowledge it without judging, and then just go, no, I'm going to choose to think this instead, and start, repeating some other affirmations.
Yeah, so as you were saying that, I'm a note taker and I started writing stuff down in terms of the journaling. So I've been journaling since I was 12, and my background is as a professional writer. It is
Okay.
so helpful.
Yeah.
And as you're writing, whether it's prompted or not, and I also love prompts because my brain is all over the place. I could do focused free writing, and I used to have my students do that. But it is really helpful to have something to get you going, to
Yes.
focus. But what you do when you journal is you actually have records that maybe you can use for documentation later, but also to see where you were at and to note how much progress that you make along the way. So journaling is so important. The other thing I was thinking is people often that get triggered by the communications. Well, in our world, they always do, but from their ex, and they want to write something back,
Oh,
put it
yeah.
in a journal. You say,
Yeah.
we have a little
Yeah. Or
collection of
even,
like, send it to us, and we're putting it in our stuff never to be sent. And a lot of
yeah.
it is really funny, especially later, but you have to get it out. Like,
Yes.
I don't know if you see people who say, I shouldn't feel this way. I understand here what things are, but here I still like need to say something. And I
Yeah.
think it is normal to have your feelings validated, even if only to yourself. So I love that suggestion.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah. And
the
sometimes a great exercise too that's therapeutic is if you do have all of these things that you feel like you want to say to your ex, and that if you were to say these things, it really wouldn't do any good, or it would escalate things, to write it out, really like write a letter to them and
Mhm.
really dump all of that out and say what you want to say, and then safely burn it. And kind of there's something therapeutic about kind of watching it go up and letting it go.
Right, but you have to get it out.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, you do.
suppressing it is a problem. And then the other thing about creating mantras and affirmations, I was thinking about something that my ex said at the very end of our marriage when the divorce was imminent. He made me hold his hands. He said, say it with me. Say, I'm an abuser. I'm an abuser. And I was like, I don't think I am, though. But if I hadn't been more clear headed, I might have actually believed it. And now I look back and think, oh, he was probably recording and probably trying to get something to use for custody. And thank God I didn't say, yeah, I am. I wasn't that brainwashed. But it
Yeah.
is really important to have the counter messages to what you've been told for all those years.
Yeah,
So,
it is. I mean, all of that manipulation, and it can be so damaging. But I think you just have to remind yourself that you can get out of that. That doesn't mean you're going to feel that way forever, or even believe those things forever. It really just takes you deciding that you want better for yourself, and then taking that consistent action every single day, even if it's just little baby steps. And especially when you're co-parenting with them too. And that's what's so complicated is, when you get divorced from someone and you're still having to interact with them and deal with them on a regular basis, that's hard to balance with. I'm also trying to heal from all of this stuff that this person has said and done over all of these years. Like, how can I do both? And so it's like you really have to be patient with yourself, get support. Like, you just know that you're not alone, first of all, even though you might not have people in your life that really understand your circumstance and dynamic. I can tell you there are thousands of, I mean, maybe even more than that, right? Like, women who know exactly what you're talking about and what you're dealing with, because they're dealing with it too. So you're definitely not alone. But it's like, the more you focus on your healing, the easier it will become to navigate a dynamic like a high conflict co-parent. Because if you're still constantly triggered every time you see that email notification or that text notification, or you're using our family wizard, or something like that, you're still giving your power away. And so through you healing and working on yourself and empowering yourself, not only will it become easier to deal with somebody like that, but then you're also getting the tools to empower your kids, because along the way you're also having to help them navigate having a parent that does things that probably aren't great when it comes to parenting, or when they're over at their house, maybe they're throwing you under the bus or spreading lies about you, or parental alienation, like so much stuff that comes up. And like, so your kids also are dealing with that. So once you know how to regulate your nervous system and set and enforce boundaries and advocate for yourself and do all of those things, then you can also start passing those tools along to your kids.
Yes, and certainly easier said than done. We really know. This
Yes,
takes a
it is.
long time. It takes a lot of work and support.
It does. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It's a lot, but it's possible. I mean, like, I see women every day with success stories about how they've gotten so much better with boundaries, and how they're not triggered anymore when they get some crazy, email that's accusing them of something they never did. And so there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of potential too when you really just take the time to do the work.
Yeah, and I think one of the things from being on the other side is the ability to look back and literally laugh at how ludicrous some of that stuff is, right?
Insanity. I mean, yeah, right. And so if when you're in the moment, like, it's really scary and overwhelming, especially if they're always threatening to like take your kids away or take you back to court, like, that's scary. But yeah, you kind of get to the point where then you're so so far removed that it's almost it's funny, like some of the games that they still try to play, or bait conversations they bait you into. It really, you can see it so much more clearly, and it really becomes almost laughable, and in a way where you're like, almost, I have empathy for them, because
Yeah.
this is kind of who they are and how they live their life. And you know it's kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, we always say the best thing to do is to starve them of your precious attention, because they don't care if it's positive or negative. And people say, I don't understand why he's still coming at me as a new partner. He moved away. It's like, because he still wants your attention. And by
Yes.
giving even your negative attention, he can see that he still has that power over you,
Yeah,
because he knows how to get
100%.
under your skin.
Yes, they love that. It's a game, right? It's that
Right.
the power, the control is like, I want to push your buttons. I want you to react. I want you to, and then they can sit back and go, oh, look how crazy she is, right? Like,
Right. Right.
they
And say
love
to
that
your
game.
kids, look how
Yes,
crazy your mom is.
yes. And so, yeah, that's the best thing you can do, is really just not give them the ammunition, like, not give them your energy. Take your power back. Focus on you and focus on your kids instead of them.
Yeah. So Leah, can you tell people how to find you or what kinds of things you offer?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's mindfullyready.com. I'm also on all the socials. My handle is at mindfullyready. If you're dealing with somebody high conflict, I would highly recommend checking out our membership. It's called The Next Chapter. It's a private community. It's just for moms. There's a ton of resources in there. We have a whole library of things. If you're dealing with parental alienation, how to set boundaries, how to release anger and resentment, how to, some somatic exercises for when you are triggered. We release things weekly in there. So there's a lot of information to help you out.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. And hopefully we'll get rid of some of that negative self-talk and start laughing at it,
Yes.
but later.
Yes. In time. In time. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It was
Yes.
fun to chat with you.
Yes. All right. My pleasure. Let's stay in touch.
Bye, guys.
Bye.